Hey, welcome, Intermedia partners. My name is Craig Woods, and thank you for coming to today's session. Sometimes we wait a couple minutes before we start the session, but we have a jam-packed agenda today with an all-star lineup to cover a lot of different aspects of 365 and related services. So I'd like to get this kicked off. Um, First of all, we have a lot that we're going to go through. We'd love to get your feedback as we go along, so please take advantage of the Intermedia interface and especially the Q&A. We're going to be covering a lot. We're going to try to leave some time for Q&A at the end of the session, but the purpose of today is to get you interested in certain topics that we can follow up with you and that prompt a conversation with your account manager, with your partner account manager. So please, anything that you log in the Q&A, we will follow up on, and we'll either try to answer as we go along, or we'll make sure that your partner account manager is aware of it and can help you. But we're going to cover a lot of material. I'm going to start by talking about 365 and what it is we're talking about, hex and 365, and a couple of variations, and then our overall add-on strategy. I'm joined today by Randy Ide, who's the product manager for Email Plus, and also Alex Smith, who's our director for security, and he's going to cover email protection and what's new with advanced email protection for 365. James Bucuzzo, who's one of our archiving specialists, and he's going to talk about email archiving. And Boyan is here today to talk about the role of SecuriSync in protecting 365 work product and files. And also Reza Cameron here from leading the Unite team is going to talk about the relationship between 365 and Teams and Unite. So it's clear we're going to cover a lot. Everybody's going to get a copy of the recording at the end of the session. And if we can get through this, then we'll use the remaining time for Q&A. Okay, so the context for this is, we obviously have a lot of partners that continue to resell Exchange, and that's great. Works really well for a lot of customers. The reliability and options and the ability to customize what is available in the environment are really important aspects of that. But of course, 365, in all of its flavors, is becoming more and more important. And the major advantage that we can offer you as an intermediate partner is this exact same level of support. So in our materials, both our white label and our advisor materials, you see heavy emphasis on JD Power, which should have benefit to you as a partner or to the customer that's receiving the support directly. So we are continuing to offer Exchange and 365, but the purpose today is to really help you set the table for 365 and make this the best possible experience for you and your customer from a margin, from a value, and from a reliability standpoint. So with that, let me just set the table a little bit on the plans. We've gone through this before. One of the things that a lot of partners are doing is presenting HEX and 365 apps as a 365 option. That's fine. But most of the discussion today is going to be in the context of the 365 plans that include email, such as Microsoft 365 Basic, Standard, Exchange Online, E1, and E3, all of which are available with the options that we're going to talk about today, and most of which also include Microsoft Teams. So we cover all of these flavors in our collateral, and we have supporting materials, and that's the context for today's discussion. We're going to do a drill down on the add-ons that I think are the most interesting, and there's one in addition to this that Reza is going to cover, of course, around Unite. But Alex is going to talk about email protection, which has been heavily requested by partners to bring the same capabilities that we've had in the Exchange environment for Office 365 from Intermedia. So it works exactly the same way, and what we've packaged up are the full set of advanced email protection capabilities, which we think should be part of every customer's mailbox, from a protection standpoint. So Alex is going to talk about that. Email archiving is far and away our most popular add-on. And this has traditionally been the case, but I think there's an even stronger case now that James is going to be talking about why archiving is important. Well beyond compliance, we're going to touch on all of the reasons how it can help you protect your client, and how clients can work with it directly to address their most common requirements. SecuriSync, there's never been a time to have distributed file backup and management and sharing than today. And this is a great opportunity for partners to provide added services. The margins on SecuriSync are terrific. So in addition to this, we're going to go through the call to teams with Reza. But one of the things I want to point out is that we tend to see very high usage for these add-ons, particularly archiving and SecuriSync. And that means that within accounts, when they're deployed, they tend to go to a very high percentage of mailboxes, which means that these should be great opportunities for you to add value and increase your margin at accounts that are using 365. Okay, so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Alex Smith, who's going to talk about the role of email protection for 365 and how to contrast this with Microsoft 365 capabilities.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you very much. So as Craig has already mentioned, one of the most requested capabilities for the email protection suite over the past couple of years from partners and from customers was to take it with them when they moved from something like Hosted Exchange from Intermedia over to Office 365. So it was something that we had kind of potentially resisted initially. We were obviously keen for people to stay with Hosted Exchange. However, it became clear that there was a real opportunity for our partners were they able to take the same level of protection and perhaps more specifically the user experience of email protection over to their Office 365 mailboxes. So for that reason, a few months back, we actually did make email protection for Office 365. And the capabilities therein are the same as the on-premise or the hosted Exchange version, I should say. So some of the key elements we'll go into and the differentiators versus native spam protection from Office 365 and also advanced or ATP1 as it's known. We'll go into some of those details, but just as a highlight, kind of the key capabilities of this solution is the ability to stop malware and phishing and the various threats that are typical these days across email. So with that though, I want to talk a little bit about email protection itself and go on a little bit of a journey back through time about why we developed and created the solution in the way that we did. So a number of years back, it's probably 4 or 5 now, we took the decision that we wanted to create or have more control or autonomy over the email security offerings that we offered with all of our mailboxes. And we had some decisions to make, I suppose, whereby we could just OEM a third party, we could build everything in-house, or we could do, and we ultimately opted for a kind of hybrid approach. So what that gave us is full control over the user experience, both for administrators and for users, but we took the decision that we didn't want to kind of take all of that threat expertise, if you will. We were going to license that in. So what we built was a pluggable framework, an email security framework that allowed us to maintain that user experience, but at the same time gave us the flexibility to use different engine vendors, have different relationships with different technology vendors. And as we've seen over the past years, a number of different technology vendors have prevailed, have been better at responding to the different types of threats that we see. And with the email security, email protection suite, we've been able to swap in and out different vendors, whether it's IP blacklists, anti-spam engines, antivirus engines, and more. So what you're seeing there is the current mix of engines that we use, Proofpoint, CloudMark, Sophos, Spamhaus, Vade Secure. There are some others in there as well, kind of minor vendors. But every year we get the opportunity to basically swap these out. We don't tend to strike any long-term agreements with any of these vendors, and that gives us, and subsequently you and your customers, the advantage that we can maintain a very high level of service efficacy, so kind of spam detection rates, and at the same time, by using multiple engines, we get very high accuracy rates as well. So it's somewhat anecdotal, but certainly for the customers we know that have moved on to native Office 365 protection, they've certainly been telling us that the levels of protection and detection aren't what they were used to, and also the user experience is different and, in many people's opinions, not as easy to use, I suppose, or seamless for their users to get their head around. Another decision that we took very early on is that we believed that URL protection or time of click protection is something that should be ubiquitous. Everybody should have access to that. We didn't believe that that should come necessarily at some kind of added cost. So we decided to add that into all of our packages and plans. And it's no different for Office 365. So all of our advanced email protection for Office 365 comes in its standard native offering with time of click protection, outbound scanning, and data loss prevention policies as well. So here are some of the differences, I suppose. So as people are comparing email protection to the offerings native to Office 365 from Microsoft, there's really two from Microsoft, and that's the standard EOP or Exchange Online Protection. And if we look at some of the key gaps there, we can see having that best of breed multiple security engine approach that I just referred to before, that's clearly a benefit to customers in that they're getting improved accuracy, lower false positive rates, lower false negative rates. Again, that point of click protection or time of click protection does not come in the standard basic Microsoft package. You would have to upgrade to ATP 1 or Advanced Threat Protection 1 from Microsoft. So there's an immediate kind of benefit there as well. ATP 1 pricing will vary depending on packaging and which Office 365 plan you are on. However, it by and large comes at a couple of dollars at least, so kind of $2 to $3 depending on being charged monthly or annually. So there's a real advantage there to offer capabilities that you would normally pay extra for in Office 365. In addition to that, for a good year and a half, we've offered the live scanning capability as a part of our URL protection suite. So that provides you with that 0-hour protection, that time of click scanning, and we strongly recommend that you enable this for your customers. Become an advocate, try it, and that provides a real-time scan at the point of click. So it's not just looking up in historical threat feeds; it's able to detect threats that have not yet been found and made it into those threat feeds. So that's the 0-hour or 0-day element there. One other piece of feedback that we received quite strongly is around our marketing or grey mail policies. So something that you don't really see natively is the ability to control exactly how this is referred to in a number of ways. So ham or grey mail or marketing mail, they're those messages that are legitimate. They must have things like unsubscribe links in them, but they are very often considered, or they kind of get in the way of your normal day-to-day. So we see a lot of users utilizing this as an inbox management tool, where they will create an inbox rule to farm this marketing grey mail off to another folder, and that leaves the inbox itself much more focused. So there's some key kind of benefits, I suppose. Those key benefits there that are highlighted. We get that highly accurate threat detection. You get that malicious link protection with 0-hour protection, and the flexibility to tag messages that are marketing messages as well. So they're the kind of key benefits wanted to call out. One thing that we have just released, I think we sent the notifications around and enabled this last week, specifically want to call this out now because there is an opportunity here to deliver this and to your customers as a part of a kind of email or security education package. So traditionally, whenever we tagged messages, we only ever applied subject tags. So we applied those subject tags to the front or prepended them to the subject, and we applied default tags. With our new tagging options, if you saw the notification, you'll know that you now have control over the tag content itself. So you can specify your own custom tags, but perhaps more interestingly or excitingly, you're able to now apply custom body tags. Now, the body tags have a lot more flexibility in that, first of all, they don't get in the way of the email subject, so users tend to prefer that. You can also apply styling to these, so you can have more severe coloring, if you will, based on the type of threat or the type of check or policy that it's failed. And then you also get a lot more length, so you can actually provide some guidance to your users as to what to do. All of these things were very tricky or nigh on impossible to do with the subject tagging itself. So considering all of those things together and how you can now help your customers perhaps deliver these body tags, and as well you can put in things like notifications, so or who to contact when you see this. For example, contact your IT department, contact help desk on the following number. All of these things drive towards better educating your users or providing your users with more information such that they can make better decisions. So again, a very useful feature, much requested, and is now available in the product. So I believe with that, Craig.
Great. Yes, thanks, Alex. Hey, Alex, if I could ask you, there were a couple of questions that came in. If you could address those in the attendee chat while we're going on, that would be terrific. So I wanted to highlight a couple things that we've noticed around security. We recently did a very well-attended customer security event, and we wanted to share some of the results of this with you. We provided some custom assets to them. We're also making those available to you. I'll talk about those in the next slide. But when we were polling for questions about ransomware and security practices, what we found was that about 27% of the customers that attended this indicated they had experienced a ransomware attack, which obviously shows that this is something that a lot of clients are aware of, and I would expect that this is very similar to your base. So it highlights the importance of email protection and protecting them up front. And of course, as Boyne's going to talk about, it highlights the importance of having back-end protection in the event that an attack is successful and jeopardizes files. Second result here, do users know who to contact? Our interpretation of this is that clients are very aware of security, and they're asserting that they have processes in place. So again, if you're talking to clients about security, chances are this is something that is on their radar. They're very attuned to this and open to setting up the right processes, which obviously you can provide great assistance for. The last one here, URL protection, is referring to the link safe, malicious link, and live scanning real-time protection that Alex was talking about. And this is an area that we're constantly trying to emphasize the customers, and in part, you should emphasize the value of this and the importance of this, because this is really addressing phishing attacks. So having this enabled is super important to helping protect clients. And we continue to see a lag. We'd like this number to be much higher, but based on feedback from partners, we're not turning this on. For our partners' clients, we're relying on you to describe the value and to show your clients how to do this. This is in the sample email, the how to do this, and then sample messages that you can send. And so we've tried to package this up in what we're calling a security toolkit. This is available for partners at the URL gointermedia.net. We have videos from Ryan Barrett, videos from Alex, from Boyan, talking about why this is important and how to enable it, and then templates that you can use for emails so that you can send an email to users saying, hey, to help you protect your business, we're turning this on. Here's what this means. Here's why we're doing it. Here's what you should know. And so we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to share with clients how to use this and basically turn these features on to help them protect themselves. So very interested in your feedback on this. Please take advantage of it. And again, there's a how to protect your inbox guide that you can take here and customize for yourself to provide to clients. So we're trying to provide as much value as we can. Okay, and there's a lot more security stuff coming later in the year. But with this, I'd like to turn it over to James Bacuzzo, who's going to talk about the role of email archiving with 365.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Craig. Yep, my name is James Picuzzo, as Craig mentioned, the archiving specialist, talking about a little bit more today on email archiving specific from an O365 perspective and why it's important to customers and partners as well. And a couple of points that I wanted to really emphasize is, the overall use of the archive really presents a safeguard for, and almost like an insurance policy for business, because it gives a way for preserving customers' most critical communication data, and that's in your email. So I like to always go over a couple of different reasons as to why that's important. Compliance comes up more often than not as one of the top reasons why customers should use email archiving, or why they should have that. And that's true. It helps with compliance measures, depending on what customers are focused on, depending on the nature of their business and what they're looking to meet. Absolutely helping with those compliance pieces as well. But the broader spectrum, you're focusing on the customer's peace of mind. They know they have access to an immutable copy of every email ingoing and outgoing. That's tamper-proof, and a copy of that exact email. They can access it easily, and they can do it quickly. So the idea there is get in, get the data you need to respond, and get out. Also going forward too, it helps with continuity. If employees are going and coming within an organization, for an example, and you need, the customer will need access to those past emails that are vital to the future of the business. They now have a way to do that, even if the employee is not there any longer. And then, of course, as companies look to meet different requirements that are held by e-discovery, archiving helps, companies try to meet those different requirements in those different cases. So just positioning and looking at Intermedia's email archive from a strength perspective, why is it a good idea to have this solution, as part of a full email package when focused on the 365? I think one of the greatest things to enhance to look at is really enhancing that email service with a separate platform that has preserved copies of all those emails, as I mentioned, in case there's any sort of issue that happens. It's great to be able to have a separate platform that's focused on email archiving specifically, and that really makes it kind of the focal point of what you're doing for that specific use case. So it's best to have options there, to make sure if one of the things that your customer is looking for is trying to capture an email or recall an email, for a specific case, no matter what's going on in any of their environments, they have a place to go do that. And really, how are those strengths stacking up? Well, there's a couple of different buckets here I think that are very important. I think the one right on the top is search. The idea of the archive is to get in and look across all of the mailboxes and understand, what you're looking to capture and pull out. So the Intermedia archive gives you that ability, really, where you can look across all your user mailboxes. And makes it much easier for the customer to go in and create a simple or a complex search, depending on how specific they want to be as far as finding new past emails, and getting those to respond to whatever inquiry they have. Maybe, it could be something internally, it could be more of a compliance response, whatever the case may be. And also to save time and money and frankly headaches in the future, you're able to save and assign those different search results. So if you have typical requests that come across more often than not, you're not having to recreate searches constantly. You're able to go back in and launch that search and change it as you will. It's also a secure way to store those copies of every in and outbound email. As I mentioned before, a tamper-proof copy where you can capture everything sent and received, and in a separate platform that's focused on email archiving. So it creates a perfect addition to an email service or an email security platform, but it's a separate platform to help focus specific on the task at hand. And it's easy to use. There's no user action required. It's going to be, as I mentioned, capturing everything sent and received, and then those archived emails are going to be retained, even if, as I mentioned, a past employee maybe left the company, but you still need access to those vital emails, for whatever future business requirements might come up.
Great. Hey, thank you, James. Hey, so couple things I wanted to point out. So first, as we're going through this detailed comparison, James showed it for archiving, Alex showed it for email protection. We're going to do the same thing for SecuriSync. These are material. This is in materials that you're going to have access to, as coming out of this. So you'll get copies of these battle cards that include the comparison tables, the elevator pitches, summary of benefits. They're also going to be featured in the upcoming partner newsletter, so please look for that. One of the other things that's going to be part of that are the updated promos. And for archiving, because we think this is super important and a great opportunity for partners, we're making archiving free for 2 months as a new service with 365. Which we have not done in the past. So it will also be available for exchange, but this is going to be new as a 365 option. We think that there's never been a better time to make sure that all of your emails are protected and to leverage all the capabilities that James went through. So, I think that it should be straightforward to justify the use of archiving with every mailbox, just like email protection, to make sure that people are protected. The other thing that I wanted to flag was if you're dealing with customers who want to do migration, then moving an archive across as part of the migration is very straightforward. And as always, our teams are ready to help you with any migration from Exchange to 365, help you understand the requirements, step through the plans and pricing. So please reach out to your partner account manager and they can help with all of that. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is turn the presentation over to Boyan, who's going to talk about the role for SecuriSync in protecting 365 users.
Thanks, Craig. Hi, everyone. So let's maybe dive right in. I'll spend the next few minutes telling you about our service and comparing it to OneDrive, offering it as an alternative to your Office 365 base. So SecuriSync is our proprietary file sharing and data protection platform that started out, I think about 8 or 9 years ago, as a pure play file sharing platform, a lot like OneDrive. When we originally launched it, we quickly realized that those same SMB customers that our partners were servicing not only had needs around mobility and file sharing, but were also very susceptible, right, to data loss caused by either end user error, device loss, or damage, ransomware very prominently, and that they particularly sort of struggled with that. And separately, were either very concerned or required visibility and control around the security and privacy of their data. And what we saw them do is sort of awkwardly glued together multiple different tools, a file sharing product and a backup product, and then a third security engine on top. And many of them sort of had this sort of awkward setup for many, many years. And we quickly at that time sort of saw an opportunity to, I think, pivot from just being a pure play file sharing solution to providing a partner-first SMB-focused file management platform that sort of ticks all of these boxes that a typical business needs around file sharing. And you see many of these points on the slide, but in general, right, I need to be able to access my files from anywhere. I need to have secure, scalable, cloud-based storage. Need to facilitate sharing internally and externally. You need to facilitate mobility, but then I also need backup so that data is continuously protected, and I have a simple way of restoring it, whether it's a simple accidental file deletion or mass data corruption due to ransomware. I need to be able to sort of get back to being productive quickly. And so we've integrated that uniquely into the same solution, and we deliver it through a fairly simple end user experience while giving partners / admins the control over all those capabilities, including some security features focused around management of who can access the data, how it can be shared, users, devices, really a comprehensive set of policies that we won't be able to get through today, but they basically cover sort of all these capabilities in pretty good depth. And so that becomes really our sort of differentiation in this space. I think you can bucket OneDrive and Dropbox and Box and similar providers into this sort of file sharing or file collaboration pure play category, and then we sort of diverged from that and really created a platform for files that includes data protection and advanced security on top of that. So over the next few slides, we'll just highlight a few things that we do uniquely or that we have recently brought to market. We have a partnership with Bitdefender, one of the leading security vendors in the space. Everybody's probably familiar with the brand. We are scanning everyone's files for free on our platform. So ransomware requires or malware requires multiple layers of protection. We have a way to recover from it once you get it, but we also try to sort of do perimeter protection, and that's one of the ways of doing it. This best-in-class engine is basically scanning customers' files in real time, as they add and change the content. So it's a pretty sort of slick and a unique capability in the market. Secondly, we have a really rich set of policies, and as a subset of that, we have a rich set of policies around device controls and management. So the product, gives admins the ability to see which devices have access to content. Becomes sort of very important, especially if those same devices are accessing really sensitive information. So admins have visibility, they have alerts that tell them when a new and unknown device has been brought on. They have ability to remotely wipe SecuriSync data off those devices should they get lost, or if an employee decides to leave. And then there's a new feature that we just added there, which is a form of device pinning, as we like to call it. So we give ability to the admin to pin or to create a limit on the number of devices that a user can have. So if I set up a limit of one desktop device and I install SecuriSync on your corporate laptop, it ensures that you can't go on and install it on your home PC or elsewhere. So that's why we call it device pinning, because you pin it to that first device and then you sort of enforce that policy. That's one of the ways of ensuring that users aren't either accidentally or maliciously trying to connect from different devices and potentially pull sensitive data down on non-managed devices. So that's a feature and capability that our customers have available to them today. Also, earlier this year, we released a Windows streaming app, which probably familiar to most is sort of a new way of handling file access from a desktop. We traditionally were syncing files to the endpoint, and I mean that still has a place in a lot of different use cases, especially for those that don't have a lot of data that they're generally consuming. But we started to see a trend of both users needing access to more and more data, sometimes more than their hard drives could support, and then separately concerns from partners and administrators that data would actually be synced or remain synced to the PC. Even with the remote wipe capability, some still had concerns with that. So this feature alleviates that quite a bit, and it's quite sort of security friendly, if you will, in that you sort of temporarily cache some files locally, but you really don't sync your full file set down to a device. So it has security implications, it has local disk drive usage implications, network usage implications. It's just sort of a next gen way of doing things, and that's sort of become our next generation application that our customers are consuming. Craig will walk you through it. It also sort of really works well with the work from home needs that have suddenly become the norm. So I alluded to a lot of the differences between SecuriSync and OneDrive, and I think in fewest words possible, right, is we've sort of gone from just being a pure play file sharing tool to incorporating data protection and data security capabilities in the product. And we think that's where the real value is. So a consideration here would be, you're either going to deploy OneDrive and then have to consider what you need to do on top of OneDrive to meet your kind of minimum bar for data protection and ability to recover from ransomware, as well as data privacy, or you could use SecuriSync as the home for those Office 365 files. SecuriSync is very well integrated within the entire Office 365, Microsoft 365 ecosystem, including Azure AD integration, Office, Outlook, Exchange. It's really, we've got kind of hooks into all the different places like the open and save as menus. It becomes really easy for an Office 365 user to drive their files here, where they will be better protected, and it will give you sort of as a partner, advisor, and an administrator of that account a path to recovering from what will likely be a variety of different data loss issues that'll happen with every customer. It's just the way the world is. Users will do some things that you don't expect, and you need to be able to recover as quickly as possible, avoid the busy work and what's typically just kind of a sunk cost, right, on the part of a partner trying to get a business back up and running when that happens. The other really interesting part about this product and is the whole partner first story. So we gray label it. For those of you that have sold the product, you know that end customer sees a brand called ShareSync. So it's a brand that we allow you to sell under and doesn't sort of link back to Intermedia, and that gives you the ability to fully control the customer and to also price the product without having kind of in-market competitive price points driven by us. So it's the reason why Craig mentioned it's one of the highest margin products and one of the better selling products, because it gives partners a vehicle to driving some higher margins with that Office 365 sale. The sale itself of the SKU doesn't always generate as much margin as you want, but this is one of the add-ons that can very nicely augment that, and it adds value that people, I think, appreciate, especially when you talk about ransomware and all the recent security challenges that many businesses have faced. It's a buzzword that gets you a seat at the table, if you will. So Craig, I'll leave it at that. You'll take the next. You'll take it from here.
Great. Hey, thank you, Boyan. Hey, and just a reminder, the detailed position messaging competitive comparison stuff is in battle cards that you're going to be getting and that are going to be in the partner newsletter and that are going to be on the partner portal. In addition to that, for SecuriSync, we have a special promo for partners that's for SecuriSync or ShareSync, 2 months free for the paid plans, 10, 100, or unlimited capacity. We also have seen a lot of success with partners who want to use this in an NFR, not for resale, which is free for them. So you have a chance to work with it and get to know it and understand it, which helps you present it. We also there's a lot of materials to help with SecuriSync. We have a ransomware and security campaign in a box that are on the partner sales portal, and we can provide links to that, and a lot about file server upgrade and replacement. And then Boyan talked about remote work, which is a particular focus. In fact, there's a data sheet specifically on using SecuriSync for remote work that talks about the strengths and issues the customers run into. So how SecuriSync and ShareSync can help you in a client situation where they're dealing with some users at home on different networks, on different devices, but you want to provide real-time backup, sharing, and security on all of their files, and SecuriSync can definitely help with that. Okay, so with that, what I'd like to do is turn this over to Reza, who's going to talk about the role of Unite and Microsoft Teams integration for 365 and how we can help there.
Great, thank you, thank you, Craig, and thank you everybody for joining. I was a last-minute replacement come in here, so I try to save the best for last, but I'm really not sure if I'm the last person, so I'll have to take it where it comes right now. But I wanted to sort of talk through a little bit more about specifically Intermedia Unite and some of the activities that we've been engaging with from an Office 365 perspective. So what we're going to talk through today is really some of the integrations that are really available. So for those that don't know about Intermedia Unite, this is our UCAS product offering from a communications perspective. So this really includes, your voice, your PBX services, integrations, administration, analytics, essentially the Swiss Army knife of communications. And those that are aware, obviously, with all the changes that have happened to this new normal world, communications has now become an essential service. And so our positioning really to talk about as it relates to this is the ability to really figure out not just how communications can stand by itself, but really is there a model, especially within the Office 365 world, to be able to offer communications as an integrated experience into, say, Microsoft Teams, which at times is sold as an offering. So one of the things that we've done is we're working with a third-party company called Call to Teams, and one of the reasons why we've integrated with Call to Teams is for what we've seen in the marketplace today. So we know that, the reality is, Microsoft Teams has a very large dominant base, and they continue to expand on the space. With 44 million daily active users in the marketplace since COVID-19, we know that predominantly they're there, and we're seeing these expanding models. However, with those expansion models, this is an area that Teams has been growing into, and we've heard from customers, not in all cases, but in certain customers, there's certain limitations that have existed from a Teams experience, and this has been really from the core telephony side, from the voice and PBX services, where they have not necessarily been as thorough and as comprehensive with them, though they're starting to grow into it, but there has been a gap that we've seen in the marketplace for this. The opportunity that we're seeing is, look, that we're trying to fill through Intermedia Unite and the Call to Teams piece is there an opportunity to really improve this overall Teams experience, right? Providing them with higher quality voice services and enterprise grade PBX functionality, all built within the Teams experience right now. So ideally, customers that are already using Teams, Office 365, and have Teams, can I now take Teams that exist today and change this into a super Teams experience with, a higher quality voice service and PBX functionality? So the Call to Teams integration really, as it says here, it really combines the best of what Intermedia delivers in terms of high quality voice services and business phone functionality, built right into the Microsoft Teams experience. So customers would have accessibility to 90 plus PBX features, be able to place and receive calls in Teams using the Unite backend services. They would have existing phone numbers and extensions. Call flow would be following through Unite. Fairly high quality service level agreements and SLAs in place, and obviously there's no hardware required for this. And there's more information that's available on this integration on the Intermedia site, so feel free to ask about this. But this capability is available in two forms. One is with Intermedia Unite itself, but we also have an Elevate branding, which is a completely white label view of this that is also available for partners. So like I said, this can be fully integrated as a gray labeled solution and an offering for our partners as well. So look, I mean, this is just a very quick decision tree that we've looked at and for this. And there are scenarios where this makes sense, and there's scenarios where this doesn't make sense. So certainly combating against Teams, a Teams experience, there's an opportunity to basically work with Unite as a solution right now. So in this particular case, if somebody is using Office 365, is there an opportunity to fill the gaps with our Unite offering generally from a UCAS perspective? And this could be in the situation right now that we described earlier of selling Office 365 or Intermedia's version of Office 365, and then revisiting the Teams experience and the integration down the road. Because like I said, a lot of these gaps that we've seen right now, many customers may not see them immediately out of the gate, and it's something that may come over time. Now, customers that are really using Teams today, and these are customers that want to stay within the Teams ecosystem, this is where this integration really comes into place. That says, listen, I'm happy with my Teams experience. Can I now make my Teams experience better with higher enterprise-grade features and functionalities, hunt groups, and other great capabilities in terms of PBX functionality that is available through voice, as well as significant improvements in voice quality, but just remain within that overall experience. And that's really where this integration comes into play.
Okay, so let me try to tie this all together. We've gone through a lot of information today, and again, if you have specific questions and you put them in the Q&A, we'll try to answer them now, or we'll follow up with you. Your partner account manager is open to having conversations about any of these things, any of these topics, whether it's migration from hosted Exchange to 365, or pricing, availability, and positioning of the different options. There's new collateral for the 365 product family that we talked about for each of the components, from advanced email protection, SecuriSync with a detailed comparison. I've been showing you for each section, we've presented parts of the battle cards for each of these to show the difference between OneDrive and SecuriSync, what's included with archiving for 365 and our email archiving, and the advantages of our advanced email protection package for 365. The security toolkit, which is online at that URL, should be a handy source for you of the how-to videos, the templates, email templates, and customizable materials. And we also have campaign materials there and in the sales portal to help with SecuriSync. The promos that I mentioned today are for archiving for 365 2 months free, and SecuriSync for 2 months free. You should also watch the partner newsletter that's coming up. That's going to feature all of these as well. And again, we're really interested in helping you maximize 365 opportunities in terms of margin, in terms of stickiness, and in terms of the value that we believe that we can help you provide with Intermedia 365 and any of these options or any combination of these options. Okay, so we do have a couple of minutes left. If there are any questions, take a look at those. Please enter them in the Q&A, and we'll either try to answer them now or we'll follow up, depending on whether we have the technical detail that you need here. But really interested in your feedback. Also, would really appreciate feedback on today's session, either in the chat or in the Q&A, to help us design these things to provide you with the right level of information and the right scope of information. We've gone through a lot of material, but we've tried to provide access to you today to our best resources and experts in each of those areas. So let me see if there's some questions that are coming in that we can respond to. So Reza, there's some questions about Unite. I don't know if we can address that here or we need to follow up with that, if you can see that.
Yeah, what's the question here?
It's about packet load.
Yeah, so I think the question is for Unite is the integration with Teams is add significant packet load to the local network. The answer is really no, and the reason being is that essentially, we're very optimized from the voice perspective. So there's typically the bandwidth optimizations are usually there from a UCaaS perspective, generally speaking. So it doesn't really add a huge amount of network load to an existing service right now. It's very, very minimal, and typically there's many new codecs that come out that continuously optimize that overall voice quality. So having the what I would call the high quality voice services right now, plus the optimization with the codecs, it would be very minimal in terms of an overall impact. And with significantly carrier grade level services, there's very little packet loss and then very little packet load at the same time.
Great. Hey, Thank you, Reza. Hey, there was a question about add-on availability and whether these add-ons are available for 365 that is not resold through Intermedia. And the quick answer to that is it depends on the add-on. For the Teams integration, yes, definitely. For archiving and SecuriSync, those are also available regardless of the 365 provider. Email protection is currently only available as part of Intermedia provided 365. There was Randy asked a question on the price for M365 standard.
Yeah, I see that. So I think for specific questions about pricing, definitely would recommend that you reach out to your account manager. In this particular case, the question is asking about standalone. So one thing on the PLR side, we're not selling the Office 365 standalone. We think it's really, really important, and also based on feedback from our partners, that there be some form of email protection on that, just to make sure that the customer is protected with all of the bad things going on in the world right now. And also, to be fully transparent, there's not a ton of margins for any of us on the 365 side. So part of that bundling is how we try and get additional margin for you and for us.
Okay. So we're at the top of the hour. Really appreciate your time today as an Intermedia partner. Hope we've provided value. Again, very interested in your feedback today. We intend to keep going with these kinds of events and provide you with more details and value prop around 365 and being successful. It's become a very, very important of our business, and we want to help our partners maximize their margin, maximize stickiness, and provide the best possible experience. So thank you to the presenters today, and thank you very much to the partners that were able to participate. And you'll all get recordings of this as part of the follow-up. So thanks again. Have a great day.